Here are some videos where we're going to focus on IELTS speaking task 2. So we're going to be looking at some cue cards that have actually come up in previous IELTS tests, and we're going to go through those cue cards for common topics. I'm then going to show you a model answer and talk about some of the great features of language that I've included in the answer for the task 2 cue card. So our first topic is going to be art. Let's take a look at the first task card. Describe a piece of art that you like looking at. You should say when you saw it, where it is, what it looks like, and explain what you know about it. So here we have all of the details that we need to include. It's worth saying that, of course, we don't have to order our answer in the same order as the different prompts on the cue card, as long as we talk about most of the things we are asked, but specifically about a piece of art we like looking at. So let's take a look at the model answer. It's kind of a tough question, really, as generally I'm not a huge fan of art. But if I really put my mind to it, my favourite painting would probably be The Starry Night by Van Gogh. At least I think that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure I've not seen the original painting, but it gets printed on loads of things you see around, like postcards and things like that. I've even seen a t-shirt with it printed on before. Maybe I should buy one myself. I can't quite remember where I saw it first, but I'm guessing it must have been at quite a young age. We might have even had a copy of it inside my family house. The reason I really love this painting is because of the colours and how relaxing it looks. Basically, it's a town scene at night, like a small town in Europe or southern France or something. What's really weird about it is that the moon almost looks like a sun. It's bright yellow if I remember rightly. Van Gogh often uses really fast, strong brush strokes, and by doing this, the colours from the stars and yellow moon wash all over the painting, giving the sky a really tranquil and inviting kind of look. I would absolutely love to visit that town. Maybe I should try and research where it was painted and head there myself. I don't actually know too much about it. I guess it's one of his more famous paintings and is probably worth a lot of money. I can only afford the prints anyway. So here we have our full model answer for the first task card for the topic art. Let's take a bit more of a focused look at some of the really great language used in this answer. So highlighted in blue are examples of really great language that I've included in this response. And of course, we're beginning with, it's kind of a tough question, really. So this is a great way to begin pretty much any task 2 response. It means that you're thinking about the answer, and it doesn't mean it's too difficult. It just means, yeah, it's kind of a difficult question. I'm thinking carefully about what I will say. You can really use this phrase for pretty much any task 2 response. As generally, I'm not a huge fan. So if you saying you like something a lot, you can say, I am a huge fan. It's a very native phrase, a collocation. Or if you don't like something, I'm not a huge fan. So generally this person, which is me, of course, I'm not a huge fan of art, a very native phrase. But if I really put my mind to it, so that's kind of a bit of figurative language, put my mind to it. It means to really think carefully. So we're thinking carefully about something. This is a great figurative phrase to use. If I really put my mind to it and think, my favourite painting would probably be this one. Okay, the next bit of language is here, pretty sure. It's just a native sounding phrase. I'm pretty sure. You don't 100% know, but you're pretty sure. Maybe 70% sure, pretty sure. A very native sounding phrase. And another good piece of vocabulary, loads, but it gets printed on loads. So instead of lots, we can say loads. And again, this is all showing the examiner that you can speak in a native sounding way. And here, like postcards and things like that, I've highlighted that really because that's just showing a bit more detail. So when we do the task 2 cue card, we really want to give quite a lot of examples and add extra detail to our speaking. I've even seen a t-shirt, and here we have the next piece of highlighted language. Maybe I should buy one myself. So this is a rhetorical question. I'm not expecting that the examiner will respond to me, but I'm kind of talking to myself and asking myself a question. That shows the examiner that you have a lot of confidence in your speaking by using a rhetorical question. I can't quite remember. So using quite, you'll see often that I try and use this phrase quite. It's again a native sounding piece of language. I can't quite remember where I saw it. It must have been at quite, again, a young age. Okay, and next piece is the reason I really love this painting. So just a nice way to open up the next part of our speaking. And it also shows organisation. So it shows that I am answering the prompts on the cue card. We've got an opener here, basically. So this is me beginning my sentence with basically. It can almost be a sentence filler as well, a conversation filler. So it means basically, so to round things up, to get right to the point. Basically, a nice opener. Here we have what's really weird. So again, a collocation here, which sounds very native. And here it's bright yellow, if I remember rightly. So yeah, native sounding and adding more detail. It doesn't really matter if you aren't correct in these facts or if you completely create your own story about the cue card. The examiner isn't marking for you being factually correct, just on the fluency of your language. Here we have giving the sky a really tranquil. So this means peaceful, a great piece of vocabulary, tranquil. I would absolutely love. So instead of just, really love, I would love a lot. Let's use expressive language. This would, of course, score high for lexical resource. I would absolutely love, very native sounding. Maybe I should try and research where it was painted. So just adding more detail again. So that really rounds up a lot of the great language in this model answer. Let's take a look at the next cue card. Describe a time you drew a picture or painted a piece of art. You should say when this happened, what it looked like, why you drew it, and explain if you enjoyed this activity. So still around the topic of art. However, instead of asking, like the last cue card, what art you enjoy, here we're being asked what art we have created. A simple drawing, sketch, painting, model, sculpture, something like this. If you haven't really drawn anything or painted a piece of art for a while, as many people won't have, then you can quite simply make your own version of this story. So you can think of a piece of art and really just make a story about it. The more you practice this storytelling, the more confident you will be to do it if you don't have a real life example ready to hand. So here I've created my own story, as actually I haven't drawn a picture or painted a piece of art in a while. So let's take a look at the model answer. I used to really love drawing, but in the last few years it's been something I've done less and less of. But the last real drawing I did that I can remember clearly was a doodle of a mountain village in Asia. Actually, I stole the idea from a book I was reading at the time. I think I even traced parts of it too. This must have been a few summers back, maybe even 4 or more, as that's when I was reading this book on Asian history. You probably wouldn't call it an amazing piece of art, but I did draw it on the long haul bus after all. It must have taken me about 3 hours to complete. Off the top of my head, I used only 4 colours in total. I didn't have many with me at the time. The rest I shaded in black with pencil. There was a big tree hanging from the side of a mountain, with small houses littered around it. To be honest, maybe I can't remember it so clearly. I've got a memory like a goldfish. At my old job, I used to travel at the end of the week to go home. This was the best time to do some drawing or reading. It was actually my favourite part of the week. Often I would just draw silly pictures all the way back home. At times it was difficult to hold the pencil straight though. That was pretty annoying. I think I should try and take a few more trains and buses. That way I can do some more drawing again. Okay, so lots of detail in this answer, and once again, I did actually make this up. Now, I know that I've been able to write a full response. However, this is a story that I've just created now. This is a model answer that, would score very highly, but it's not something from my experience, as actually I haven't done any real art in quite some time. So I've made this story up by really putting together a few stories I know from friends and a piece of art that I've seen a long time ago. Here we have our really expressive, high-scoring pieces of language. So let's go from the top, and here we have last few years. But in the last few years, this is a very colloquial sounding phrase, the last few years. So if you're talking about something that has happened from now, previously, let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago, you can say in the last few years. It's something I've done less and less of. So when you have been doing something recently, not as much as you would like, you can say, I'm doing that less and less. Or, I've done less and less of it. Here we have a great phrase, remember clearly. So clear and remember are very common collocations. They're words that are often seen together. Here we have doodle. So instead of drawing or piece of art, we have a doodle, which basically means a sketch or something that hasn't taken a long time. It's something for fun, a pencil drawing for fun that is reasonably quick. Actually, so we have a nice opening sentence or phrase to our sentence here. Actually, I stole the idea. So this is organizing our thoughts. And next up we have, I think I even traced. So traced, when we are tracing things, it's when we put paper on the top of the picture and draw around the outside of the image. So a pretty good piece of topic-specific vocabulary for art. This must have been a few summers back. So often we can say that seasons, we say they were back. So if there was something I did last winter, I could say, or a few winters before, I might say a few winters back, I went skiing. A very native sounding phrase here. And here we have a piece of art. This is what we call one masterpiece, a very famous work. So something that's well known. For example, Mona Lisa. That is a piece of art. Opening phrase here, off the top of my head. So a great way to organize our language, off the top of my head. It's an idiomatic expression, figurative language, idiomatic expression. So there isn't anything coming really off the top of our heads. It just means that we are thinking quickly. And here we have, there was a big tree. So I'm adding lots of detail and examples into my answer to make sure that I'm really giving the examiner lots to hear. Remember, this is really your sort of few minutes to shine. To be honest, a great opening phrase here. Remember it so clearly, remember clearly. So we're using this collocation again. Here's another idiomatic phrase, which is a great one to use. I've got a memory like a goldfish. So in English, we often say that goldfish have very short memories. It may be that you do say this as well. But a great phrase, idiomatic expression to use is a memory like a goldfish. So I have a very short memory. And lastly, just here, adding for detail, it was actually my favourite part of the week. So it's just adding that extra bit of detail. So giving more of your thinking through speaking. So make sure that you really do give lots of examples and ideas. So here are some of the great bits of language used in this model answer. And if you want to go to the Q&A section and show me you using this, using some of these expressions, then that would be a great bit of practice for you. See you in the next lesson.